Well, hello there, stamping friends. This is Traci Raether, and it's February 11th, 2026, and it's time for our monthly paper pumpkin workshop. Today's kit is from January of 2026, and it's called Special Delivery. So it's celebrating sending people happy mail and has a theme of doing some Valentine's as well as just some very sweet sentiments to let people know that we are thinking about them. So I'm going to show you what comes in the kit. And as I'm getting started, if you would please sign in the comments and let me know your name and where you're watching from, that would be wonderful. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you are signed into your Google account or your YouTube account, and then you can also sign in to the comments. And let's see, I think that's all the information that I have right now. I'm going to adjust my screen here so you can see the paper pumpkin kit, and I'm going to show you the parts and pieces. What's really nice is each kit does come with full color instructions. And we're going to do a kit today that has 9 cards with 9 matching envelopes. Inside these instructions are first how you can gather all of the parts and pieces to make the 3 different cards today. And then there's specific instructions, which we'll be looking back at shortly. On the back side, you see a large picture of all of the things that are included in the kit. You see coordinated colors, which when I made the alternatives today, I'm actually going to make slimline cards. We're going to make small slimline cards and large ones. But to find out what else I want to add to the kit, this list of coordinating colors is always very helpful. If you would, for any reason, not be able to find or miss one of my paper pumpkin workshops and you would want instructions, there is a QR code where you can go and watch a video of someone putting this together. And then for every 3 months of paper pumpkin, there is an additional little die set that matches all 3 of the sets. And so that is listed on the back of the instructions and how you can get that. So welcome, Aileen. Nice to see you, and Kim and Kathy. Awesome. Let me set the instructions on the top here, and let's just take a peek inside this kit, which shows up in my mailbox every month. I absolutely love it. So it has a full stamp set. Just FYI, next month, they're giving us a free additional stamp set, so I can't wait to see what that is. And then we always get at least 1 spot, and this month's is Poppy Parade. Then there are a number of die cuts that I'm going to use to add to my card, in addition to stamping and the other supplies that they provide here that I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. And then we have 3 different envelopes. There's 3 of each of these. And then they have like a secondary card front that we're going to be adding to the cards. And then they have provided the card bases. And there's 3 different kinds of those. Plus, I got adhesive in here, so I've got some tear and tape, and I also got dimensionals. And then they always wrap it like a present in tissue paper, and I absolutely love that because that's how it feels every month. But I'm getting a present. Love it. Okay, let's go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually do the projects as they're designed for the kit first, and then I'm going to do 6 alternative cards for you today. So this is the envelope for card number 1, and I'm just going to open my step-by-step instructions here so that I don't forget to do something as I'm putting this together. Now I have applied some of the adhesive and to just speed things up a bit. Some I'm going to be stamping on, so I couldn't put the adhesive on. And this is unique. It took me a while to figure this one out. This card base is just a little bit smaller, and the card front is larger. So when you adhere it together, you don't see the back of the card base, but you see what they've provided as a card front, which is kind of unique. Okay, let me go ahead and let's get the stamps and the ink going here. I'm going to be using Poppy Parade, and all of the stamps in this paper pumpkin are photopolymer, as all of the stamps now are going to be from Stampin' Up! And so I'm going to use my Pierce mat here while I'm stamping to make sure I get a good image. And let's see, I'm going to start by stamping on the card front. And I have some items that make it look like this is going to be a big postage stamp. So let's get the parts and pieces here. So I have first, this looks like the postmark. So I'm going to ink that up with my Poppy Parade. Oh boy, and watch the top of my acrylic block. I already got ink all over that. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this right up in the corner of this card front, as the instructions indicate. And there we've got that. And then on the bottom here, there's a little heart. Just a little something extra to put on the card front. We'll put that down in the other corner here. All right, and then I'm going to set that to the side and actually grab the sentiment label, and we're going to do Happy Valentine's Day. Coming up quick, just a couple more days. Do you have your Valentines made? And then the question is, are they in the mail if they need to get in the mail? I have to get mine in the mail. They're made, but I better get them in the mailbox. Okay, Happy Valentine's, and I'm just going to center this. There we go. Hi, Betty. Trudy, welcome. Okay. We've got the sentiment. Now I can set this to the side for a moment, and we can go ahead and assemble our card. So let's find the white card base here and my bone folder to just make that crisp fold. And then I'm going to get my take your pick tool and take off the adhesive from my tear and tape. And then just line this up. And you know what I think I'm going to do is turn this upside down so I can see where I'm putting the card on the back of this. And then when I turn it over, you'll see that we're not seeing the card base at all, just the card front. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put the background. They have an additional layer on here, which is really pretty with some gold foil. And I'm just going to center this. Okay. All right, and then, you know what, I better move these stamped images with, or the stamps with ink, or I'll be putting my wrist in there. Okay, then we need the the leaf to go behind here. So this also, I have a whole bunch of mini dimensionals on. So we'll take the adhesive covering off. All right, and I'm going to get that in place based on how they say to do it on the diagram here. The thing is, I don't want it going over the edges so that it'll fit in the envelope, okay? Okay, so basically every leaf had some adhesive on it. Now I'm going to take off the adhesive from the rose. And let's see. And then put that right up here in amongst all of the leaves. There we go. And now I'll have to put some dimensionals on the back of my, oh no, just tear and tape. They want it flat. Let's do that. On the back of my sentiment. Tear and tape is so easy because it truly does tear. You don't have to cut it with the scissors, which is nice. And just going to put that right on top here on these leaves. All right, and there is card 1. Now, how quick was that? And look at this beautiful envelope that it goes with. So this one's ready to go in the mail. That's the good news. All right, let's get to card 2. I'll just set this one off to the side and get my instructions for the next one. And let's get out our parts and pieces here. Now, how's this for a pretty pink bubble bath? So we've got another pretty envelope. This time we've got plaid as our card base. And that's going to be the first thing we stamp. So I'll get the bone folder to get my crease the way that I want it. And get back my pierce mat. And now this is going to be a landscape card. So I want to put it this way. And I'm going to go ahead and start stamping. And I need my airmail stamp and a bunch of hearts. And we need sending love. So here we go. So airmail looks like it's going to go on here first. Right up in the corner. Make sure I have the card opening the right way. I sometimes forget to double check that, and it ends up in the reverse. Okay, so we'll put airmail right up here in the corner. And then we're going to put it down on the lower corner as well, leaving room to put the hearts underneath it. So there we go. Okay. And then we've got a row of hearts here. And that's going to go right under the airmail. And same on this lower corner. Okay. And then we have the sentiment to stamp. I think we have everything done that we need to do on here. We have the sentiment next, sending love. So we'll do that next. Right in between the lines that are on this label they've provided. And then it looks like on this card front, they want me to stamp that little circle that says love, love, love. So let's set this. I'm just making sure I have it upside right. And get that stamp back over here. And put that right under this flower. Okay, so it looks like we have all of our stamping done. Now we're ready to assemble our card. All right, so I have some tear and tape on the back of this card front. And I'll be centering that on here first. Okay. And then we have the sentiment's going to need some dimensionals on it here. So we've got that, and let's just take all this adhesive off. Got some additional flowers to put on here. Oop, we got one off over to the edge here too. 3 flowers to put on here. Okay. And then we'll put them, actually, it looks like they want us to put them over where they are in the design. Now trying to line up. I don't know that it has to be perfectly lined up, just I think kind of the space. Okay, and then we'll do the top one here. And then we've got the little one. Oh, that's very pretty. Oh, and we have our sentiment that's going to get tucked right in here. All right, that is our second card, all done. I like how they added some foil to the centers. That really steps it up a little bit. So, and this then goes in the pink envelope. All right, that's card number 2. Let's go for number 3 here. So this time we've got the blue envelope with the pink card base. Now this one's going to be another portrait card, so it'll go this direction. And we have a little stamping to do, so let's get that out of the way. So we have a sentiment to do. It looks like we are not going to do anything on the card front. So we have our sentiment. And we're going to want to, before I take this apart, I actually am going to stamp on these 2. I think I'm going to put them together, stamp it, and then give them space again when I put them on the card. So let's just set them in place here. And I'm going to just slide them together as close as they'll go. And then this one is going to be that love circle again. So let me just grab that one first. And we'll do this right in the center. Okay, so we've got that. And then we have the sentiment that says, just for you. Let's grab that one. And just center it on this label. Okay, and then we have the postage mark to do on this die cut before I die cut it out. So let's grab that one. Okay, so that's our stamping completed. Let's go ahead and kind of set these in place. Now some of these I do have the dimensionals on because I didn't have to stamp on it. I'm going to have to put the dimensionals on these other pieces. So let me just put them all upside down. Okay, and then we're going to put the sentiment right on the very bottom of this. So let me go ahead and put the dimensionals on the things that don't have it yet. And then we'll flip them all over, and then we have a whole other image to add over the top, which is kind of nice. This one has a whole lot of dimensionals. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do to try to center this is I use my corners. So what I do is I put the corner of the die cut so that it's the same distance on this side and this side, and that will give me the best chance of getting it straight and in line so that the next ones can match. And then I always go to the far side so that I can center whatever is in the middle. And this I try to look at the same distance that I did on the first one. Oops. Probably help me if I just go this way. I can see it a little better. And put that in the corner. So that's cornered off again. And then I can put this right in the middle and space it nicely. And, you know, want to kind of line this up a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to use this to do the line for this one. Now that just happened to work out, thank goodness, because now I want to line it up with this and with this. Okay, and then I have this next one to line up again on this corner. Okay, and then I'll do this other corner. And now I'm trying to be mindful of going straight across here. I'm not going to press too hard yet while I get this one in place. All right, there. And now we'll do our sentiment right down here at the bottom. All right, we've got all of those in place, and now we have the flowers put over the top. I think this card would be fine just like that, but I like that they, you know, took it up a notch. All right, and we are just going to lay this over. Mostly covering up that postage mark. Okay, and there is card number 3 with the matching envelope. I think that blue really highlights it. So I don't know if you have any comments or you have questions on this kit before I go to start making alternatives. But those are the 3 cards. And so from there, I'm going to go to the first set of alternatives I want to make. And what I did is I started out with, this was the first card and the first envelope. So that's what I'm using to make my alternatives. And what I thought is, well, I'm going to get in some envelopes. So for the slimline, I decided to do 2 sizes. So we have the smaller business envelope, and then we have the large business envelope. Okay. So then I decided I'm going to just slide the large one off to the side here, and we're going to start with the small one. And so I chose some of those additional colors that were on the back. And so I decided for this one, I'm going to do garden green. Now, the card stock size and then the card size for a small slimline card, this is called. The mini one, this is a 7-inch this way, 7 inches this way, and 6 inches this way, and then it's scored at 3.5. Okay, because the final size of this is 3.5 by 6. So that's how big this is, 3.5 by 6 to fit in this envelope. Once again, it started out as 7 by 6 and then folded at 3.5. Okay, so that's my card base. So get the envelope out of the way. And then for the large envelope, this bigger one, you know, a lot of times they have the stuff in there for business. Okay, now this one, the card size itself is 4 inches by 9 inches. So 4 inches this way, 9 inches this way. So actually the piece of cardstock is 9 inches across by 8 inches. And then it's scored at 4 inches to do half of that, okay? And I decided I'm going to use garden green for this one too, just because of the leaves are so pretty, and this really matches the envelope, okay? So then once I had done the 2 card bases that I needed, then I, since I'm replacing the envelopes with my slimline envelopes, I didn't need the envelopes. So it was like thinking, how do I want to utilize these on these projects? And I think this is the little bit wider one here. So I think I'm going to put that on the large one. This one has the small, this is smaller. I'm going to put that on the small envelope. And then I have more paper, if you will, designer series paper that I'm going to use. I've got this very small. I think I'm right in here, and I'll use this sentiment piece on this card. And then I like that I can put this on here. And I think I'm going to stamp with the stamp set that had 2 or 3, let's see, 2 stamps we didn't use. So there's this rose with the leaves on it, and there's the stamp, You Brighten My Day. So we have additional stamps we can choose to use. All right, so let's go ahead, and I still have also this background piece, and I'm not sure how I want to use that yet. So as I kind of put this together, I am not going to glue anything down until I'm sure I've got it where I want it, okay? So I'm going to take the biggest sentiment that I have here just for you on this part right here. And I think I'm going to keep with the garden green. That'll match my card base here. So I'm going to just bring this in, grab my Pierce mat. Okay. And I better wash this stamp first. It's red. Or Poppy Parade. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to center that right in the middle there. Okay. And then I am going to be centering this or cutting it off to one side or just trim the edges. I have to think on that a minute, but what I'm going to do is stamp. I'm going to use Memento Black. I'm not going to take the time to color in this rose today, but I am going to color it in later. But I want to make it so that it's in Poppy Parade and the green. So let me just take one of the scraps I had here, and let's just go ahead and stamp this up in the Tuxedo Black, and then it will be all ready to use my Stampin' Blend alcohol markers so I can color in the colors. I could also use Bubble Bath. That's another one of the colors in this set. I don't know if I'm going to use this on more than one card, so since I've got this all going on, I think I'm going to stamp 2 of them right out of the gate. Okay. One of the things I love about my paper pumpkin sets is how many times could I use this stamp over and over and over in so many different cards. I love having that that option. Let me get out my fussy cutting scissors here. Just going to cut out one of them for right now. And just a reminder, if you are familiar with fussy cutting, and or if you're not, I just go a little close. I do like to leave a little border around the image, and I move the paper and I keep the scissors in one place, and it makes for a smoother cut line, which is if we were using a die, right? That would be smooth. So that's what we're trying to do. All right, let's just set that off to the side. You know, the other thing that I can do is center this. So I think what I'm going to do is actually cut around this. Let's see. So this centered area is 1 inch by a little over 4 inches. So if I cut off 3/4 of an inch on this side and a full inch, is this more than 1 inch? No, probably 3/4 off each side. And then to get this part to work, 3.5 inches, and this equals 2 inches. Oh, then 3/4 of an inch is what I want to leave on this side. So let's see if I can do that math without messing it up. Sometimes it gets a little scary. So let's first take our 3/4 of an inch off each side. And off the other side. Okay, and then I want to leave 3/4 of an inch on this. So let's see, I'm going to go this way. And from here, I want to do 3/4 of an inch right there. This isn't an exact science. Okay. And then on this one, wanting to leave the, let's see here, 3/4 of an inch. And then cut that side off. All right. And what I noticed, this envelope, and this is a brand new trimmer, so it should be a brand new blade. But if you get some of those little linen fibers, a nail file will take that right off. Or you can use a sanding block. And sometimes if I put it in the trimmer again, I can get those off, but there. Okay. All right, I think I like the way that looks. I'm going to center that. And I'm going to just use some tear and tape here right along the edges. So by using the different envelopes is how I'm going to end up getting 2 cards out of 1 card in 1 envelope, which is kind of nice. Okay, so we've got that part here. And then I'm just going to put my rose right there. And I don't even know if I need to use this. This could be a whole nother card. I think I'm just going to leave it as is, and I'm going to color this and I'm going to pop it up. And I think that that's a beautiful card all by itself. If you wanted to put some embellishments on here, you sure could, or you could put a ribbon across the top. But that's a very simple but pretty card, just using part of the envelope. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of see what we want to do with this one. And I have to make a decision about whether or not I'm going to cut these postage sides off or just cut them off of going this way. Maybe that's what I'll do. So I leave this as kind of a decorative element, but cut them off going this way so that they're not going over the card, because my concern is it fitting in the envelope. And then I'm obviously going to feature this in the center. So let me do that with the trimmer this time. And I'm just going to set that off to the side for right now. I think I'm going to maintain the green line because that looks pretty. So I want to make sure my cut line is going to be outside of the green line, and make sure this is square in here. And I can tell because I can't see the green line in the track, so it should be just fine. So I just cut right next to it. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay. And I got as close as I could to doing it the same on both sides. So that's what I'm going to use as the center of this card. There, I kind of like that. And then we can bring the green over the green, and we've got our rose to tuck right in here. Probably on top of. Maybe go underneath that one. There we go. And then we have this little sentiment. And this definitely needs some bling. Now the question is whether to do the sentiment in garden green to make it match, to do it in the outline color. I wouldn't use the light bubble bath, but you know what? It might be okay to do it in Poppy Parade. What do you think? I'm going to watch the comments and see if you think this should be in garden green, Poppy Parade, the darker red and the rose, or I could even use Memento Black. So what would you think? I got to decide which sentiment. I think this one is the one that fits. Happy Valentine's Day, maybe? Let's see. Yes, I'm not seeing any opinions, ladies. The first one that says it gets their way. It's trying to figure out where to put it. I am going to glue this down while I'm waiting for one of you to tell me which way to go with the sentiment ink. Now, I could go kind of crazy and do different things with the paper on the side here. I'm going for simplicity today. Getting a little more out of my kit by making 2 for 1, but not necessarily trying to make them as complicated as possible, right? I'm going to just nip off a little piece here to put on that smallest little pod here. Okay, let me get my larger dimensionals. Oh, Kathy, thank you for coming to the rescue. And garden green it is. All right, let's see if I can take these off faster than I'll have to take your pick tool. Okay, so I'm going to lay this across, trying to keep everything on the card front. There we go. So that is up with dimensionals, which does look pretty cool. Then we'll go ahead and do the rose itself. Okay. And let's get our garden green out here. Do this Happy Valentine's Day. Okay. Now this definitely needs some gems, but I'm not going to dig them out of my closet, but I will add them before this is all said and done, and I will put pictures up. I think I'm just going to stick it right under here. Kind of leave this open. So let's see, we need to have, I'm going to just pop it up on both sides here. There we go. There, we've got our Happy Valentine's Day, and gosh, you could write a whole poem in here. Plenty of room. And you could also stamp that rose inside of this card. So this is 2 cards out of the 1. And, and then this is the one from the kit. Now I have one more set of things from the kit that I can either do as a kit project, or I could make 2 more cards. So, okay, this is card 1, and I'm going to move it out of the way. So these are done. Let's go to card number 2. And this one I decided to do as Poppy Parade for the background. We've got our pink envelope all cut up. We've got a sentiment, and we've got a flower here. Don't need the envelopes right now. So, this seems to me to be, now this card front fits here perfect. No trimming needed. It's just which direction do we want it to go, up or down? It seems to me that somewhere one little flower got lost. Oh, well. We've got 2, and when we add the sentiment, that is 3. Okay, so let's, on this one, I think I'm just going to put this, do I want it in the middle? Do I want it off to the side? You know what? I'm going to put this one way off to the side. Something different. We have a new Valentine's stamp that's really large. I think I have to go get that out of the pile of new stuff, and I think I'm going to put it right here. Happy Valentine's Day. Okay. And do I want anything else on this card besides that? That's the question. Happy Valentine's Day. Maybe what we'll do is put an extra, you brighten my day. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's do that in the Poppy Parade to make this pop a little bit. And then I think maybe I'll put some of that colored paper behind here. You brighten my day. Let's do this one. And I think this could definitely use some bling as well, right in the center of these flowers. You know what? They need something to make them 3D. I might actually have to go grab them so you can see it. I'm going to pop all those centers up. I'm going to bring this over here to the side. Okay, let me just grab my bling. All right, let's see what will pop up in those centers. So this actually does have yellow in it. Ooh, these yellows are pretty too. The other one that was coming to my mind, these are older than dirt, but I still like them. Where did they? Oh, here we've got a little bit. Oh, I think that's the same one I got out. But look at these. Maybe they're too much. Or I have them in a, yeah, that clear silver doesn't work. I actually think these yellow ones are going to be the ticket here. And I think these are going to be better. Yep, the ones that have sparkle in them. Let's go ahead and, that one fell right off the sheet. Let's go with, And then on the pink ones, I'm going to do a little darker yellow. Now that kind of adds to that card. Do you know, it might even be fun to outline this a little bit with a marker. It kind of gets lost in that white. I think that's probably why they were popping up, you know, these flowers on top of it, but I'm going to use them on the other card. So I think probably what I'll do is either take a stamping blend and color that in, or I'll outline the outside of it. And then this is going to be Happy Valentine's Day. So that is that second card. Now let's make the third one. Or I'm sorry, the first of the second card. Let's see what we want to do with this one. So we've got the envelope paper here again. I like using this part that has the sentiment label already in there. And do I like it to one side? I'm going to center it. Today I'm feeling like I need to center things. You know what? I'm going to attach this one differently. I'm just going to put it on here and I'm going to trim it off at the end. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this by setting this in place so I know how far over to put my glue. And of course the glue is about to bite the dust. Okay, and I'm going to just center this from one side to the other. There we go. And see if I don't have, it's up just a little bit from the bottom, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to smooth that out. And then I'm going to get the scissors that I use to trim when I have glue. I use the same scissors all the time because I don't want glue on all my scissors. Of course, it's going to be the last one I pick out because I have 3 orange Fiskars. Okay, then I'm just going to turn this over and trim that right off. Using the cardstock as my guide. There we go. And the other side. So different ways that you can, you know, be adding this to the front. Okay. And then let's see, we've got these daisies. And we can use this sentiment thing here, or we can put the sentiment right on here and save that for a different card. These are kind of getting lost here. I think I'm going to get out a blending brush, and I think I'm going to put a little Poppy Parade behind that to be able to put this over and it'll pop. And then maybe I'll use Poppy Parade for my sentiment there. Maybe I want to do that on all of it and have this pop up. All right, let's grab the Poppy Parade. And I've got my blending brush. Let's just get a piece of scrap paper that I was blending on last night and bring it out here. Okay, and this is the upper corner, I think, where these are going to land. So let's make sure we get the Poppy Parade behind that. So I'm just going to, let me slide this over a little bit. Get a little ink on my blending brush. And I'm going to just try to get a little bit of it off of here so it's just light. And I'm going to start here where I want the majority of it to be, kind of go off the front and come down off the side. And then maybe I do need a little on the other side so it's not so just there. Okay, maybe I need just a little up in that corner. There, I think that adds some interest. And then let's see what our flowers look like since we've done. Well, now you see the whole flower, which is a lot better. All right. And those I'll be popping up. And let's see, how about if we do Sending Love right in the corner here? Okay, we're going to do this in Poppy Parade. So I just want to remind you why I call this the Paper Pumpkin Workshop is because I decided that working on trying to change these and have you see how I do this is, a little bit different than a card making lesson when I have things more planned. So I hope that you like this format too. It's just something different. Let's get the larger dimensionals. Okay. All right, let's see what these would look like on this. I don't think that sentiment turned out very good. I'm going to do it again on there. Let's see. Ooh, these are, what do you think? Too big, too drastic? Or does it look good on top of the bling? Let me know. Do you think we should do it or not? Or I could find smaller gold ones maybe. I'm going to go without the pierce mat and live on the wild side here. There, that looks better. Okay, who's going to help me out this time? The big bling, little bling, or just let it be? Let it ride. I can probably cut this and we can actually see what one looks like sitting there. It's kind of a more dull bling. Where this is shinier. Or what I could do is not use that, but put a brushed butterfly coming off that flower. Maybe that would even be prettier. Kind of leave it on the lighter side. Or I have these kind of, that are a little shinier. They're too small. All right. I'm going to go with the butterfly since I'm not hearing anybody say, yay, yeah, use those bling. I've had them forever. And on certain things, they look really nice, but they're pretty big. But let's put a butterfly or two on these. We've got the bigger butterfly. That could be like landing on this petal. And maybe we can have a little butterfly. And I think we'll do the rule of 3. We'll have another one down here. There. So what do you think of this one? Just using a few of the parts and pieces that we had and the envelope. I really think that, adding the blending brush really helped bring this kind of alive. I don't know that I would have liked it without it, but what do you think? So these are the two then that come from what was card 2. And then we have these. So remember though, this will say Happy Valentine's Day. And we've got this one. So there's, the 2 for 1. All right. And then there's the last one we're going to do. And this one, I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel. So I decided in this one, the big slimline, I'm going to do in Blueberry Bushel. And then the smaller one I'm going to do in white. So I'm just going to kind of figure out how we can put these together. Maybe just squaring this off a little bit will be nice with these stamps that are already available to us. Just going to cut this in a rectangle. And then we've got all these nice little stamps that we can use. Oops, so sorry. And then we've got the label here. Okay. Oh yeah, I think picking which ones of these we want to use on here. Do we like the pink accents? And then maybe these blue ones will go nicely over here with that blue flower. I don't think I have. Maybe Sending Love will fit on there. Where did that stamp go? Ooh, that would work. And then we can just kind of put these randomly on here. What do you think? And we'll stamp in dark blueberry bushel. So let's get the blueberry bushel out here. All right, and then we have our other stamps. So I think this one's going to need to be pumped up. And these, just kind of random. And maybe I'll pop this one up too. Let's just put this one down flat. Okay. Oops. Kind of following the lines a little bit there if I can. And then this little one, I think that'll look good popped up. I want to see if I have a pink ribbon or blue ribbon. That's the wrong color. I don't know if I have Poppy Parade, but if I do, I will glue it on here before I take the picture and share it with you. But I think a ribbon would be really pretty in Poppy Parade on here just to set this off. Okay, and then let's do the last one. And oh geez, this is like giving me the stuff to work with, right? I think we'll just trim this off on the top. I'm going to use tear and tape because my glue is almost done here. So let's go ahead and just okay. I think we'll leave a little of that beautiful blue on both sides. Okay, we've got that trimmed off. And I think going after that big sentiment again that we have, just for you, will be pretty in the blueberry bushel. I forget, this is a lot like, do you remember, what was it called? Pacific Point. That was such a popular color. Let's go. Okay, we've got that. And let's see how we can maybe put these around the edge. And then I don't think that needs anything but to be put on there. So let me get the dimensionals to do that. So what questions, if any, do you have about a Paper Pumpkin subscription and or the cards that I've made today, or anything else paper crafting wise? I hope to make sure that I am, answering your questions or doing anything I can to help you. That's why I do this. All right, there we go. Now I'll have to wait for the next paper pumpkin. I'm trying to remember what the next one will be. I know the one for March, because I just put it in an email I'll be sending out. It's called Fluttering Garden, I think, and it's dragonflies, if I'm not mistaken. Really pretty. And that's the one where we're going to get an extra stamp set. So I always love that. because I find that I do pull out these stamp sets. They have great sentiments, you know, in addition to their images. All right, and there is that third card that came from the parts and pieces of this one. Hi, Sarah, welcome. So, any comments, feedback, questions, anything paper crafting, Plum Crazy Stamping? Have to let you know that I am continuing to work on classes that are going to be featuring the, I can't even, Lovely Blossoms. And we did an embossing class last night, which was awesome. And it's still going to be available for you, but pre-recorded. And then I'm going to do a fun fold class next Tuesday using that same Lovely Blossoms. So if you're into fun folds, this will be an opportunity for you to learn some new folds. They're always really fun. And let's just bring out these other cards. So we've got the other one that was like this. And then we've got those green cards. That came from that one. So I think there's lots of opportunity in this paper pumpkin to make all kinds of things, right? And just to remind you, so this Lovely Blossoms set, Stampin' Up! Is also going to do a class on February 19th at 2 o'clock. And 2 o'clock Mountain Time. So I believe that is 3 o'clock Central Time. And so there's, if you would be interested in getting this bundle or suite of products, not only do I have 2 classes, there's a card making class and then the Stampin' Up! Class. You can get lots of card design ideas to use that bundle. And then if anyone purchases that bundle or at least $50 worth of products, I have a free 4-card tutorial for you using Nature Walk. But this could use so many different stamp sets or designer series paper because it's got a lot of foliage and some sentiments with it. So beautiful set. And I mail that out at the end of the month for you. And then with a $75 Stampin' Up! Purchase, the new product of the month, which is only $5, is a designer series paper set that is 12 by 12 called Painted Illusions. And this is really pretty. And you can also choose, if you haven't bought the Fabulous Sayings, which was the January product of the month, that is still available right now. And I'm not sure about the True Blue Florals. This was the very first one. And once again, these are each $5 with a $75 purchase, but you can only buy one of them. All right, friends, that is a wrap for what I have for you today. Don't hesitate to reach out. If there's anything I can do to help you, you can reach me at Traci, Traci, at plumcrazystamping.com. And until the next time we see one another, and hopefully next week, Tuesday in class or Wednesday at our card making lesson. So take care, friends, and happy stamping. Bye-bye.